I'm here with Alex. Alex, thanks for being with us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your book signing and your artwork that you have here at the gallery.
Basically, last week here at the Helford Gallery, I opened up a new collection of paintings which is called Vertigo, which a lot of the times I like to incorporate narratives with a lot of my new collections of stuff, and this is no different than that. And so the narrative that this is kind of inspired by is an old famous big game hunter named Verdi Parker. And basically, Verdi kind of traveled the world hunting all these big game and stuff, and he ended up getting bored, and basically, long story short, found a way to create a music box that, when he played the melody, would lure nightmares out of people who were stricken with nightmares, and they would embody themselves in physical form, and then he could hunt these big monsters. So it gave him, in a way, this character was becoming an exorcist / hunter. So he was saving lives and then killing monsters, and that whole idea is what this entire collection is based off of.
Wow. So his character draws out the nightmares of people, but he really wanted to become a big game hunter, so he developed this box. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, he was a big game hunter and kind of became bored with the fact that, you know, there's only so many big game, and this is back in the 50s and 60s when, you know, game hunting was kind of a prestigious sport and not looked at as like, you're killing animals, you know. So, you know, there was some guilt involved with killing real animals, and then there was just an evolution with working with other tribes throughout the world and finding all these weird beliefs. There was a tribe called the Taki in Brazil that believed that music and tones can do pretty much anything in the world. So, you know, he kind of didn't believe it, but then while working with the tribe, kind of saw a little bit more, and then took that theory and discovered that it was true, and he could create this music to lure these monsters out into the real world and hunt them.
Wow. So what was was there a specific story or person that helped you develop your story? Like you heard, you know, bits and pieces of this and that helped you really, you know, come up with this idea?
I get inspired from a lot of different places. This one in particular, I guess you can say, kind of the idea for the collection of work about a year ago started as I wanted to create a new boogeyman. And then it went on to, I wanted to create a new series. I was like, one's not enough. I want to create a series of boogeymen. Like, I'm fascinated by the idea of the boogeyman, and then starting to research kind of like what other countries view as a boogeyman. And there's all these universal ideas, but they're all so subtle and different because of the cultures that are different throughout the world. So I wanted to take that, and the more I festered upon it, the more it turned into kind of like just, I wanted to research nightmares, and I was interested in nightmares throughout the world, and all these things just kind of came together for the visual side of it, and then I needed a backbone to tie the whole thing together throughout the world, so then, you know, out popped this character of Verdi.
Wow. Now, Verdi, does he have some character flaws? You know, like Sherlock Holmes, you know, in the original Conan Doyle, he had some, you know, some flaws there?
Actually, a huge character flaw, which if probably for a big game hunter would be the worst ever, was he was born with Meniere's disease, which is a disease of the inner ear, which basically causes vertigo. So growing up, he couldn't walk straight, was always dizzy, was always seasick, was always everything. So the idea of a big game hunter stricken with vertigo constantly is a huge flaw. You know, so to overcome that, his father was this bigger and more famous hunter. So he wanted to impress his father, obviously, and try to continue hunting. And so, you know, his father was kind of like, oh, you can't hunt with me, or, you know, whatever. So he created this this contraption that he wraps around his leg that's basically a baton or a kickstand kind of. He pushes a button and it shoots out into the ground and can stabilize him when he's shooting. So he has this, you know, this crutch, I guess you could say. But that definitely adds the flaw into the character. You know?
Oh wow, that's fascinating. So to sturdy himself,
yeah.
Wow, that's great.
And that can come, you know, that comes into play a lot of the times. If that's crippled, then he's crippled, and if, you know, if he can use that for other instances, and, you know, whatever. So it's just a little minor flaw, but it's.
Wow,
cool.
Yeah, that is great. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in art in general. Was it something that you enjoyed since you were a little boy, saw some comic books, or just, you know, a painting on the wall?
Yeah, I grew up fascinated, obviously, with comic books, with the, you know, the morning papers, and and tracing those things when I was really little. About third or fourth grade, I started seeing a lot of more demented art kind of coming into pop culture. Around that time, it was, Garbage Pail Kids and a lot of skateboard graphics from Santa Cruz and Jim Phillips and some of the comic books at that time. My dad got me a bunch of reprint comics from Tales from the Crypt from the 50s and 60s, and a lot of that I was kind of seeing even at that early age, that like I could have a mainstream sensibility and still be a little bit weird. So I think that was where like originally my weirdness was inspired by. But so I was always interested in art. I always drew, I always doodled, but I didn't actually really get into art until I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression and stuff when I was about 14, and it was kind of right before Prozac, and there was all these things. So I was put in the mental hospital for a little while as kind of like figuring out some medication and stuff. And I was alone at the time. I had alienated myself. I wasn't going to school, and during that time, like, to take my mind off of everything, like I would try to exercise, try to play sports, try to read, try to do anything, and nothing could take my mind off of the fact that I was miserable, And so once I kind of did, that's when I kind of discovered that the only thing that would keep my mind focused was drawing. So from that moment on, I got out of the hospital and I was like, I don't care, like this is the only thing that makes me happy for the time being, so I'm gonna start from scratch, I'm gonna learn how to draw, I'm gonna do something creative, like I don't know what it is, but for right now, this is what makes me happy. And it kind of just started from there, and I kind of never stopped because it still is the one thing that takes my focus off of everything,
Right. Man, that's a great inspiration. I mean, that's wonderful, to be able to overcome and, achieve the level of success that you have, with all your paintings and drawings. Do you plan in stages, like you've reached this level of success now? Is there something else that you are planning now that, in the future you're going to start a movie perhaps or something else?
I mean, I obviously I just want to create, so, and I think that the thing that has been proven, at least in my case, is that the harder that I work on something, a little bit of a level up happens each time, as long as I'm patient about it. It's like, I'm not going to rush into like being like, yeah, I want to make a $50 million movie or whatever. Like, I deserve that, because I know that I don't. I'm not there, like I'm going, the natural progression is going to happen. And I think that it does, as long as I just put my head down and work. And so I did luckily get a chance. I did develop an animated, a CG animated thing for Warner Brothers last year. We were working on it for a few years, but it just came out last year called Chatham. So I was able to work on that from the ground up. That was cool. I recently did I've been doing a lot more kind of like movie stuff lately, as far as on the behind the scenes stuff. And I most recently worked with Zack Snyder and his team on Sucker Punch, which comes out in a couple months. And that was just incredible, because that kind of snowballed from doing a little bit of marketing art in the beginning, and then kind of just like gelling with the team and being inspired by the movie and working with Zach. And so we just kind of kept doing a little bit more and a little bit more, and before you know it, I was designing weapons and designing stages and working with the art director and working on all these things, and it was incredible. So that's really, really exciting for me to kind of watch now kind of happen, and then who knows where it'll go from there.
Hey, that's fantastic. Hey, one more question. Classic monsters. Is there one or two that are your particular favorites that did you perhaps like to do a series on in the future?
I'm classic monsters. I'm always going to have my heart probably in Frankenstein. I mean, I don't know how if there's any other more like romantic and tragic monster than Frankenstein, and that's something that I think everybody can relate to. I was raised pretty much off of 80s horror icons, so those are the ones that are more of like my bigger influences. But yeah, I mean, I'm Freddy and Jason and Leatherface, and those are the ones that I was, I guess it's kind of bad to say I was inspired by them, but I mean, with this case, with the Vertigo story in general, I mean, Freddy is a boogeyman from another realm that can't, it was kind of like the thing that started this anyways, was kind of like, I loved the idea of Freddy Krueger existing in a dream world, and then but not being able to come out and interact with the real world. So it was like, what if somebody created a way for him to come out, and then they battle, so it was kind of like, in a way, this was kind of inspired by some stuff from the 80s and some horror and stuff. So
So the ultimate dream is maybe seeing Bruce Campbell or Robert England in the title role.
Yeah, you know, who knows? Well, I obviously would love that. So.
That's great. Alex, thanks for being being with us. I really like to say you're inspiration for everyone out there who's struggling with something and put their minds to it and overcome. Thanks, we appreciate it.
I appreciate it as well. Yeah, for sure. It was fun.
Thanks.
Cool. Definitely.